and reached that door and saw that there is no door, and behind that missing door there is no one who is thinking for him. And it led him to understand that we have to act. Any one of us has to act. And I think that it's very, very visible now in the current election in the United States. I wouldn't say whom I support. I think that it's very, very obvious. It's not Mitt Romney. And I think that if you think about what's happening in Israel, I think that Israel has too long been the privileged kid, and I think wag the dog in a way relates to Israel as well, and I think it's about time that it will stop.
Your invocation of wag the dog, which by the way I thought of at one point during Argo, it reminds me that your description from the film could have been The Wizard of Oz as well as Ben Gurion. There are deep connections in terms of myths that exist, whether it's in Hollywood terminology or Israeli political history. I'm going to move now to Josh Oppenheimer, and I'm well aware that it has just started to rain, and I'm really sorry about that, but yesterday the rain was lasting like 3 minutes, and then it was nice, and I hope that is the case right now. We move sort of to Indonesia, where you managed to get people like Anwar Congo, Herman, to trust you and to proudly reenact how they killed thousands of people. First of all, how did you earn their trust? And secondly, can this film be shown in Indonesia? Can it make a difference in a country that is still ruled by people connected to the murders?
Yeah, those are several very good questions. In terms of how I earned their trust, it actually relates to something I was thinking when Ben was talking about the unintended consequences of American foreign policy and foreign policy of other countries in the West and other powerful countries. The military dictatorship in Indonesia and the mass slaughter of anywhere between 500,000 at the lowest estimates to 2.5 million people, and then the decades of political repression that followed that were entirely intended consequences. And what's so troubling, I guess, is that probably there's a whole spectrum of atrocities that we don't address, that there's no effort to, or that there's very limited effort to address because they're not viewed as atrocities, they're invisible, or they're not properly addressed, or even when we try to address them, we get no traction in the media, to go back to also what Michael Winterbottom was talking about. So how I earned Anwar's trust was totally dependent on this. In North Sumatra, in Medan, Indonesia, for an outsider to come in, an American filmmaker, the characters in the act of killing love American movies. In fact, this is terrible, but Ben is a hero of Herman Koto along with Barack Obama. So they love American movies. For an American to come in, they don't know Ben's politics, and they don't know mine. So for me to come into North Sumatra as an American filmmaker, America supported the killing of the killings that my characters were involved with. They supported the repression that was based upon that ever since. They were the biggest donors, the aid givers to the Suharto military dictatorship ever since. So for me, when I arrived there, it was just assumed, oh, here's an American, here's one of our champions. This guy must love us. So all I had to do was be nice, be non-judgmental, be open, be kind, and listen. And that was really all I had to do to earn trust. It's the way we all are. I mean, everybody here knows how to do that. It's how you earn trust of anybody you approach in a non-judgmental way. But it was contingent, of course, on the fact that I was seen, that I was engaging with a situation which was intended extension of American foreign policy, and I was an American. Your other question about, what was your other question?
Well, I was curious whether this film could be shown in Indonesia and could it have any political effect, given that there's never been any real accountability to those horrific incidents?
Yeah. The film, I'm sort of on the record here, and I'd like not to tempt fate, but the film, it seems to me, has a very good chance of being banned in Indonesia and being attacked in Indonesia by the Pancasila Youth Paramilitary Group that's in the film.